same situation and you keep going through the same thing and you're not learning the lesson. You're wondering why I'm in the same space that I'm in years later when I feel like I should be in a different space, because you haven't fixed the pothole, because you haven't fixed the problem, you haven't fixed the source. And until you fix that pothole, cars are gonna keep coming down and being damaged.
Let's go, let's grow, let's get it.
All right, what's going on? Carlos V. Spencer, part 2. We jumping right back into it. If you didn't see part 1, you need to go back into the week before this one. If you didn't watch this one, you can watch this one as a standalone and you'll definitely get some information from it. But if you watch the other one, it'll lead into this one, and those two pieces together will actually help you. Last week we left off on be, do, and have, right? God powered, right? This is the line. God powered, stay plugged in. You see it right there. I love it. God powered, stay plugged in. God powered, get plugged in. Thank you for those who've been purchasing already. We got a lot of orders that are already going out. We have the white, we have the black. God powered, GODPWRD.com. GodPowered.com. You can go ahead and grab your shirt, place your order in. This is stitched in, this is embroidered in. This is a great quality shirt. Thank you so much for those of y'all God powered who've been getting plugged in and staying plugged in. We're talking about be, do, have. Be, do, have is a process when people have something in their hand, they're trying to obtain something, they're trying to have more in their hand, they're trying to get more out of your hand, you're trying to change the result. Like we said last week, if you want the output to change, then you have to change the input. Again, if you want the output to change, you have to change the input. The definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing over and over again, and you're expecting a different result. That means I'm doing the same process, and I'm wondering why this result keeps showing up, and I'm not changing what's happening from the beginning. Let me give you a plain example. And it's easy to see sometimes with the examples, but this happens in our life. Whatever is the most popular street, maybe wherever you live, Dr. Martin Luther King, that's a popular street or popular road in a lot of cities that you go to. Say that road or whatever road, Main Street, maybe another one. Say you got Main Street and there's a huge pothole in Main Street. You got a car that drives down, it hits the pothole, damages the car. You take the car to the shop, you fix the car. Another car comes down, hits the pothole, damages this car. You take that car to the shop, you go fix the car. Another car comes down the same road. See what we're talking about here? You hit the same pothole, damages the car. Maybe the damage is a little bit different. You take the car to the shop and you fix the car. What's the problem? Come on, what's the problem? Yes, the problem is the road. You can fix the cars as long as the day is. As many cars that come down the road, and maybe the car shop is happy because they keep getting this business, but if you keep fixing the car and you never fix the pothole, cars are gonna keep hitting the pothole, cars are gonna keep being damaged, and if the definition of insanity is true, which it is, you keep doing the same thing, driving down the street and expecting the cars not to be damaged. Well, of course it's gonna be damaged. And I know what you're saying, Carlos. Yeah, that makes sense. It's obvious. Yes, obvious, dear, but how many things, let's go. How many things are obvious in your life that you are not paying attention to in your life that are just like this process, and you're wondering why you keep having to fix the car. You're wondering why you keep trying to, or you keep going through the same situation and you keep going through the same thing and you're not learning the lesson. You're wondering why I'm in the same space that I'm in years later when I feel like I should be in a different space, because you haven't fixed the pothole, because you haven't fixed the problem, you haven't fixed the source. And until you fix that pothole, cars are gonna keep coming down and being damaged. Bob Proctor says this: almost everybody in the world wants to make more than $50,000. Just making a good example. The person who's making $50,000, yeah, they want to make $5 million, or they want to make $500,000, or they want to make more to be comfortable. Well, if the person or all the people want to make more money, how come all the people aren't making more money? Here it is. It's just like the example with the road. It seems simple, but I want you to really catch that. Don't let that go past you. If everybody wants to make more, or most want to make more, how come they're not making more if they have a desire to do so? Watch this. The desire may be to bless their family. The desire may be to help their family, to help their loved ones, to give to ministries, to give to nonprofits, to help other countries, to help people in your own city. Your heart is pure and you want to do these things. Well, why aren't you making more if you want to do more? Because you got to become more. You got to become more in order to do the more, in order to have more. Again, if I become more of this person, then I do different things, or the things that I do, I get greater results. So when I get greater results, the things that I have are more. The things that I have are better. The things that I have are increased. The things that I have start to show up unsuccessful. And I feel like somebody watching is like, nah, I don't know if that's the process. I got you. If that's not the process, then are you getting the results? Interesting. Are you getting the results if you're not going through this process? But I got to speak to the person who wants to do more. I got to speak to the person who's trying to get more in their hand. So the B, we talked about the process last week. We began with the process this week. But Carlos, how do I become more? This is going to seem somewhat simplistic, but a lot of things that are simple, we miss them because we don't apply them because it seems too simple for that to be the answer. When you want to be more, you become more by reading more books. You become more by going to different conferences. You become more by watching different information on YouTube. You become more by signing up for different coaching programs. You become more by getting somebody to coach you and tell you some information that you didn't know before. You become more by increasing your knowledge, whether that be through a higher education, going back to get another degree, or learning some other information on your own. Jim Rohn says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Instead of making a living, you'll make a life. You work on yourself on becoming better. And I'm not saying you don't work hard at your job, but when you work on yourself at becoming better, then the job ends up being better because, I hope you see this, because the person is better. And when the person is better, job is better. The person is better, family is better. The person is better, resources and wealth are better. The person is better, your friends up getting a better person out of you because you're better. The things that you volunteer and do are better. The mentor that you are is better. The mother or father that you are becomes better because you're becoming better. So the challenge in this simplicity, it seems simple, but a lot of people miss it because if a lot of people were doing it, a lot of people were getting better results and having different things. We focus on the have. We focus on the result. Let me make this plain. How can I make this plain? You look at the bank account and say, I want to make, instead of making $50,000 a year, I want to make $50,000 a month. So what you do is you start becoming the type of person who can make $50,000 a month. You start reading information. You start learning more about wealth. You start learning more about money. You start learning more about discipline. You start learning more about habits. You start learning more about how successful people learn. Now watch this. I'm not this hocus pocus person who says you just learn. When you learn and become, you start to do. You start to do more. You start to do more effective things. You get more out of your hands because you become more of an effective person. So if you want to make $50,000 a month instead of $50,000 a year, here's the problem. You see the bank account and you see what your bank account looks like. You see the bills coming out of your bank account and we focus on that. Here it is. I wish I could make this jump out of the screen to you. And when you focus on that part, that's what you're seeing. And since that's what you keep seeing, that's what you keep believing. And since that's what you keep seeing, that's what you keep believing. And since that's what you keep believing, then you feed yourself that belief and you keep doing the things based upon that belief. And the bank account keeps showing up the same way. I hear your mind. I hear your mind. Your mind is saying, I don't know. This is the thing that I'm saying that you have to change. When you don't focus on the bank account, do what you got to be responsible to do. Don't miss what I'm saying. But when the focus now becomes not on what I'm seeing in the bank account, when the focus now becomes on the information, when the focus now becomes the scriptures I'm reading, when the focus now becomes the things that I'm seeking out, the books that I'm reading, and the focus now becomes the information that I'm watching on YouTube and the information that I'm watching on conferences, and I'm going to some conferences, and watch this, and I'm fighting myself. We talked about this in another video before. I'm fighting myself from going back to the same old person who wants to watch Netflix and chill all night. Every night? Who the person who wants to watch every sports game? Every sports game? I'm not saying you got to give up all that stuff, but I'm saying if you want the result to be different, you got to change some of the stuff that you're doing. Let me give you a real-time example, Carlos. How do you do that? When I'm sitting at home and I'm finished my full day, and sometimes I do feel like relaxing, and I'm not saying you should never do this and never watch a movie. I'm giving you an example. And yes, I'm being a little stern about it. When sometimes I want to watch a movie, I say, no, Carlos, you got to turn on something that's going to feed you. You got to turn on something that's going to give you some information that's going to help change you. You got to do something different because your old self wants to keep going back to the same habits, and that old self that has the same habits is going to do the same thing, is going to have the same results. If you want the result to change, then sometimes you got to turn on whoever you think is successful. Turn on to Myron Golden, turn on to Jim Rohn, turn on to Bob Proctor, turn on to Les Brown, turn on to Eric Thomas, turn on to carlosVspencer. Turn on somebody who's speaking into you some information. Read books, right? Read Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Read Dennis Kimbrough, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. Read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Read this stuff. And if you don't like reading, then listen to the audio version. My friend calls it Drive Time University. Whenever he gets into the car, instead of turning on the radio or turning on some song or plugging his phone in and listening to some music, he turns on an audio book. He turns on somebody's YouTube channel that's teaching him some information, whatever you want to learn about. Hair, basketball, business, money, whatever you want to learn about and get a different result. Feed yourself different things. You could totally ignore both of these videos and not do anything and not change anything in your life. The result is still going to stay the same. Be, do, have. If you want to have something different or have something more, focus on becoming the type of person. And it's not just in your mind, it's in your mind and in your work, because when you become a different type of person and think different thoughts, you now do different things. And when you do different things, or you do things on a more effective way, you now become the person who can do the thing, who has something different. Watch this. And when other things show up to your hand, and you have other things that show up to your hand, you'll now be the person who can keep those things because you became somebody different who can do something different. I'm Carlos V. Spencer. This might be the most important 2 messages I've ever put out. Please listen to them again and apply them to your life. Let's go. Let's grow. Let's get it.